Before the world awakens with its noise and demands, pause for one sacred moment and take a breath. This breath, this quiet, holy breath, is proof that you are alive, chosen, and covered in grace. You don't need a grand miracle to affirm that you're blessed. If your eyes open this morning, if your heart is still beating, if hope still flickers within your soul, then you are living in the overflow of heaven's goodness. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a spiritual superpower. It unlocks peace, guards joy, sharpens vision, and aligns your heart with the presence of God. Gratitude elevates the ordinary and reveals the miraculous in what we often overlook. When you live grateful, you live differently, you walk lighter, you speak kinder, you see clearer. So today, embrace the truth. You are blessed, not someday, but right now, and the power to walk in that blessing begins with thanks. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly, and whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. This passage doesn't whisper, it declares that gratitude is the rhythm of a spirit-filled life. Peace and thanksgiving walk hand in hand. Gratitude is more than a reaction. It is a response to the presence of Jesus dwelling within. It teaches us that whatever we do, from the most mundane task to the greatest responsibility, when it is done with thanksgiving, it carries divine weight. Gratitude transforms chores into worship and routine into reverence. Let these words be your foundation today. Whether you feel overwhelmed or overflowing, choose thanks. Not because everything is easy, but because God is near. Lord, I return with a heart wide open and a spirit fully present, knowing that my posture of gratitude is shaping how I move through this world. It is not just a momentary feeling, but a supernatural strength. A holy perspective that alters the way I see everything around me. Gratitude has become the lens through which I view lack as opportunity, trials as transformation, and the ordinary as sacred. I thank you that this power is not from me, but from the one who dwells in me. I give thanks for the journey of becoming, for the in-between spaces where identity is reshaped and purpose is refined. In seasons when the fruit was not visible, the roots grew deep. Thank you for shaping me not for applause, but for depth. Not for recognition, but for resilience. Not for moments of ease, but for a legacy of endurance. You are teaching me how to live blessed, not just in comfort, but in challenge, and for this I lift praise. I honor the gift of emotional wisdom, for learning when to speak and when to stay silent, when to press forward and when to pause, when to weep and when to rejoice. You have taught me that every emotion is a language, a doorway to deeper connection with you. Gratitude makes space for all of it, not to control or dismiss it, but to understand it, to grow from it, and to place it at the foot of your throne. I thank you for insight that cannot be taught but only revealed. For moments when understanding clicked into place without explanation, for clarity that rose through worship, for wisdom that fell gently into my spirit like rain softening hardened ground. You have not just answered my prayers. You have enlarged my capacity to perceive you even when answers remain hidden. Gratitude has opened my eyes to your presence where fear once reigned. Thank you for the divine strength of forgiveness. For the moments when you softened my heart enough to release what I once held with clenched fists. For teaching me that bitterness is a prison disguised as protection. That true freedom does not come from being right, but from being released. Let my gratitude never end with my own healing, but extend to those who have wounded me. Let peace begin again through me. I bless you for the art of restoration, not just of situations or opportunities, but of identity, of joy, of hope, of the part of me that once believed too much damage had been done. You reached into that broken place and declared that nothing was beyond redemption, and you were right. I am standing today as proof that mercy always has the final word. Thank you for breath that invites mindfulness, for moments when the only response needed was a deep inhale and a quiet exhale in your presence. For teaching me that I do not need to rush to pray, to perform, to prove. I only need to abide. In you there is space to simply be, not because I am perfect, but because I am perfectly loved. Let each breath I take be a reminder that I carry divine purpose within me. I give you thanks for provision that arrives unexpectedly, for doors that opened without me knocking, for favor that found me in hidden places, for the jobs, the assignments, the encouragement, the connections I did not plan but received as grace upon grace. You have sustained me not through predictable paths but through miraculous means. Gratitude teaches me to watch with wonder and to receive with humility. I thank you for renewal that defies exhaustion. For mornings when I felt too tired to begin again but did anyway. For the second winds that carried me through dry seasons. For the gentle voice that reminded me rest is not weakness. Gratitude teaches me that recovery is sacred. That rhythms of grace are better than cycles of hustle. Let rest remain a holy gift I never take for granted. I give thanks for the ability to bless others from overflow, for words that speak healing, for actions that make burdens lighter, for the capacity to reflect your love not from obligation but from abundance. When I live aware of what I have, I cannot help but give. Let me remain full not for myself but for those who are hungry. Let my gratitude become someone else's answered prayer. Thank you for the strength to rise each day with purpose, for mornings that begin not with fear but with faith, for the grace to believe again even after disappointment. You have filled my lungs with breath and my spirit with courage. You have taught me that just showing up is a victory, that waking up is not ordinary. It is evidence that heaven still has more for me to do. Let my first thoughts each morning be shaped by awe, not anxiety. Let my days begin with declaration, not dread. I am here, and that alone is blessing. Thank you for the gift of renewal, for the way you constantly recalibrate my heart. When I drift toward frustration, you bring me back to focus. When resentment creeps in, you replace it with rest. When comparison knocks, you invite me back to contentment. I no longer live at the mercy of every fleeting feeling. I have found my anchor in you. And that anchor holds. Even when emotions shift and circumstances change, my gratitude grounds me. Thank you for sacred memories, for recollections that remind me how far I've come, for moments that once broke me but now bless me. You have transformed my story into testimony, my pain into poetry, my history into evidence of hope. May I revisit the past not as a prisoner but as a pilgrim, one who has traveled far and learned to see beauty even in the ashes. Gratitude has become the ink with which I rewrite how I remember. Thank you for the way you clothe me daily, not just in garments but in identity. You crown me with compassion when the world gives criticism. You robe me in righteousness when shame tries to cling. You dress me in strength when exhaustion whispers lies. You cover me with grace when failure attempts to stain my worth. My gratitude is not just for what I wear on the outside, but for who I know I am within. I lift my voice in gratitude for the gift of wonder, for the mystery that surrounds the sacred, for the awe that stirs when I see how intentionally you craft even the smallest detail. Let me never grow numb to wonder. Let me remain alert to your artistry. Let my soul stay impressed with the movement of leaves, the rhythm of tides, the birth of stars, and the tilt of seasons. Let my thankfulness grow alongside the greatness of creation. I thank you for the divine dance between joy and reverence, for laughter that spills like water when praise overflows, for smiles that rise even when tears are near, for the way joy lifts me from heaviness and reverence roots me in holiness. Let me live in that balance, light enough to laugh, deep enough to worship. Let my gratitude be full-bodied, expressed not just in stillness but in celebration. Thank you for the abundance that is not always visible but always real. For the wealth of wisdom, the overflow of perspective, the treasure of peace. Teach me to count these riches as joy, to measure my days not by what was accomplished but by what was cultivated, to see fruit not just in outcomes but in faithfulness. So I continue forward, clothed in thanks, walking in power not of my own making but of divine outpouring. I live blessed because gratitude rewired my soul to see clearly. It opened my hands, it softened my heart. It tuned my ears to your voice. It gave me strength in weakness, joy in sorrow, vision in chaos, and songs in silence. Gratitude has become my way, my wonder, and my worship, and I will live in it, breathe in it. Lord, I return with a heart stretched wide in reverence and awe, drawn by the overflow of goodness that continues to pour from your hand. I come not to ask for more, but to recognize more clearly all that you have already given. I come to name the divine gifts that color my days, that shape my path, that whisper of your presence in every breath. Thank you for the sound of laughter, for it breaks chains of sorrow, for the music of rain that cleanses the earth and softens the soul, for the rustling trees that praise in their own rhythm, for voices raised in love, for prayers spoken over meals, for stories passed down through generations. These are not just experiences, they are echoes of your creative joy. I give thanks for breath not held in fear but released in faith, for lungs that draw in life and release praise, for hearts that beat steadily beneath seasons of joy and sorrow alike. These gifts remind me that I am alive for a reason, that I am not an accident but an unfolding expression of divine intention. Let me live that truth boldly. Let my life speak of you even when my words fall short. Thank you for the people who have walked beside me, for those who have stayed through my silence and my storms, for those who have held my hand when I was too tired to raise it in prayer, for the grace to forgive those who left and the wisdom to let go without bitterness. You have taught me that love received is a blessing and love given is a calling. Help me give freely, love boldly, and serve without hesitation. I bless you for purpose that cannot be stolen, for the quiet assignments of the heart that matter more than public titles. For callings that unfold not on stages but in kitchens and hospitals and classrooms and streets. For sacred tasks disguised in daily routines. Let my eyes be open to the divine woven through what feels mundane. Let my hands stay faithful even when applause is absent. I thank you for spiritual endurance, for the gift of not giving up, for the fire that kept burning in me even when the wind tried to snuff it out. For the moments when prayers were whispered through clenched teeth and tears. For the faith that stood not because it felt strong but because it was anchored in the one who does not move. You are the reason I keep going. The strength behind every yes, the safety behind every surrender. Thank you for mercy that covers my yesterdays, for grace that steadies my todays, for hope that carries my tomorrows. These are not abstract words. They are substance, they are real, they have rescued me again and again, they have rewritten stories and revived dreams. May I walk worthy of the redemption I have received, not to earn it but to honor it. Thank you for peace that runs deeper than calm, for the kind that stays even when waves crash, for the stillness that surrounds my thoughts when the world around me is loud. Teach me to choose peace. To create it, to carry it into rooms heavy with tension, to speak it over others and over myself. Make me a bearer of peace, a vessel of calm, a reflection of the still waters you promise. I bless you for beauty that transcends trends and time. For the beauty of character, of integrity, of truth told with gentleness, of strength held with humility. Let me chase after this beauty, the kind that heaven sees. Let me care less about being impressive and more about being faithful. Lord, thank you for joy that bubbles up in quiet moments, unannounced, undemanding, undeniable, for the spontaneous laughter that catches me by surprise, for the grin that overtakes me during worship, for the silly moments that remind me not to take everything so seriously. Joy is a gift, a holy rebellion against despair. Let it rise in me often and spill onto everyone around me. I give thanks for spiritual hunger, for the ache that draws me back to your word, for the thirst that leads me into worship, for the longing that keeps me seeking. Let me never become so filled with comfort that I lose the craving for closeness. Keep me tender, keep me aware, keep me chasing after the sound of your voice. Lord, I come once more into this sacred space with open hands and a soul bowed in reverence. I do not approach you to rehearse what has already been said. I come to go deeper, to offer thanksgiving that stretches beyond the visible into the eternal. For you are not only the giver of blessings, I honor you as the source of breath, of wisdom, of every unseen thread that holds my life together. I seek to respond not with repetition but with renewal. Let this prayer become an altar of awe, built upon the foundation of every divine gift you continue to unfold. Thank you for the gift of emotional honesty, for allowing me to come to you not as I wish I were, but as I truly am, for receiving me in joy and sorrow, in doubt and confidence. You have not required me to be composed to be accepted. You have welcomed me in my mess and shaped beauty out of my vulnerability. Let gratitude rise not only in the moments I feel strong, but also in the fragile spaces where grace does its deepest work. I give thanks for the ability to feel the weight of sacred responsibility, for the stewardship of influence, of time, of calling. You have trusted me with more than comfort. You have entrusted me with legacy. Teach me to honor it. Let me carry what you've placed in my hands not out of pressure but from a place of holy privilege. May I wake up each day not driven by duty but awakened by divine purpose. Thank you for compassion that widens my view, for stretching my heart toward the suffering of others, for teaching me that gratitude is incomplete if it does not flow into action. Let my thanksgiving become provision for those in need. Let it become presence for those who feel alone. Let it carry empathy to places that have long been ignored. Make me a vessel of mercy where wounds still bleed and hope has grown thin. You have surrounded me with goodness that does not depend on my performance. Let my awareness rise to meet it. Let my heart respond as a living sacrifice of praise. I thank you for dreams not yet fulfilled, for hope still planted in the soil of my soul, for visions that continue to stir and speak. I thank you that delay is not denial, that the process itself is a sign that you are not done. Breathe upon what still sleeps. Stir what I've buried. Let my expectation rise without anxiety. Let me hope without needing to hurry. I bless you for the divine authority you've placed within my voice, for the ability to speak life, to declare peace, to call forth purpose. You've given me power not to control but to co-create. Let me steward my words with awe. Let me use them to build, to bless, to bind up wounds. Teach me to speak slowly and pray boldly. I give thanks for divine connections, for souls who speak heaven's language, for kindred spirits that remind me I am not alone in vision or calling, for those who pray with me, dream with me, and walk with me when the path is unclear. These relationships are more than support, they are sacred covenant. I bless them and bless you for weaving them into the tapestry of my life. Thank you for teaching me how to honor both joy and sorrow. That I can laugh while tears still glisten, that I can hold grief in one hand and gratitude in the other. You have made space for paradox, you have sanctified tension, you have shown me that a full life includes both singing and silence. Let me not rush to resolve the mystery, let me worship within it. I praise you for freedom, the kind that cannot be revoked, freedom from fear, freedom from shame, freedom from living for applause. You have set me free from the need to prove or perform. You have unshackled me from the narratives that once imprisoned me. You have released me into wholeness, not because I have arrived, but because I am anchored in the one who has already overcome. I thank you, Lord, for the invitation to become, for the daily yes that shapes eternity, for the call to move from glory to glory. Let me not settle for inspiration alone. Let me embody transformation. Let me walk out the truths I pray. Let my character carry the weight of my gratitude, and so I come, not to end this prayer, but to live it, to rise from these words and walk them into my day. Let my presence preach even when my lips are silent. Let my life become a living thank you for all you are and all you give. Let praise not be confined to a moment, but become the melody of my movements, for I am overflowing with thanks. Thank you for the lessons hidden in discomfort, for the moments when stretching felt like breaking, and yet it made me stronger. For how you allowed challenge to carve out deeper capacity within me. You let life form me so that I could hold more love, more grace, more perspective. I see now that everything you permit is permitted for my growth. The pruning made room for promise. The silence taught me how to listen. The wilderness prepared me for fruitfulness. I offer thanks for the seasons that changed me, for autumns that let things fall away, for winters that taught me rest, for springs that stirred my soul awake, for summers that radiated abundance. In every cycle of time you reminded me that nothing is static in your kingdom, that even when nothing looked different on the surface, transformation was happening deep within. Thank you for making me patient with the pace of your plan. Thank you for the resilience of hope, for its ability to rise from ashes, for how it flickers gently when all else dims. Hope did not need to be loud, it only needed to stay alive. Through every low valley, hope was the candle you placed in my spirit, a reminder that even the darkest night would not last forever, that joy always has a dawn, that no grave of despair could silence the truth of resurrection. Thank you for how you sanctify my motives, for refining the why behind my words, for aligning my ambition with eternity instead of ego, for teaching me that unseen obedience is greater than visible achievement, that purity of heart is more valuable than praise, that to serve without being noticed is a high and holy calling. Make me content to be small if it means your glory shines larger. Thank you for the wisdom in weakness, for showing me that I am not required to be enough, that my insufficiency is not a flaw but an invitation. When I reached my limit, I met your limitlessness. When I ran out of options, I saw your creativity. When I was too tired to try, I learned how deeply you sustain. Gratitude now lives in the places where striving once wore me thin. I bless you for the mystery of divine protection, for the danger I never saw and therefore never feared, for the heartbreak I avoided without even knowing it waited, for the detours that kept me from falling into things my heart was not ready to hold. You guarded more than my body, you guarded my destiny. Thank you for taking care of what I didn't even know to pray for. Thank you for invisible progress, for how you worked beneath the surface, crafting, shaping, healing, restoring when I thought nothing was happening. When prayers felt unanswered, you were answering in ways I couldn't yet understand. You were removing what was false and making room for what was holy. And when clarity finally came, it was not sudden, it was simply the unveiling of what you had been orchestrating all along. Thank you for the beauty of discipline, for how you draw lines not to confine but to protect, for boundaries that bless, for correction that realigns. You are not a punisher but a loving Father who refuses to let me settle. You see more in me than I see in myself. Teach me to embrace discomfort that leads to refinement. Let me view your yes as favor and your no as care. Let obedience be my joy, not just my duty. Lord, I come once more to the throne of grace, my spirit still aflame with gratitude and my soul longing to express what words have yet to contain. You are the breath behind every victory, the whisper of hope within each struggle, the stillness that anchors me in storms I cannot predict. My journey with you has not been defined by perfection, but by the perfection of your patience. My thanks today is not delayed praise, it is the overflow of love from a heart that sees with new eyes. I bless you for teaching me how to find rhythm in the midst of unpredictability, for showing me that peace is not the absence of chaos but the presence of grace in the middle of it. You helped me build spiritual consistency not by controlling my surroundings but by centering my inner life on what cannot be shaken. Let my spiritual discipline remain not as religious habit but as sacred communion, where prayer becomes breath and worship becomes my response to reality. Thank you for healing my relationship with time, for teaching me that delay is not denial and that waiting is not wasted. You revealed that some of the greatest miracles do not arrive in a moment but are grown in silence, cultivated through perseverance, and born in trust. I have learned to no longer resent the slow unfolding, but to rejoice in the divine choreography that moves at the speed of wisdom. Thank you for wisdom passed through pain, for the kind of truth that only scars can teach, for the understanding that only loss can birth. You have not required that I suffer, but when it came, you harvested gold from the rubble. Let me carry that wisdom like a lantern, illuminating paths for others, providing hope for those still walking through their dark nights. I thank you for the divine invitation to rest in being rather than doing, for reminding me that productivity is not proof of worth, that I am not a machine but a child, that I am loved not for what I achieve but for who I am. In your presence I have discovered the safety of stillness and the sacredness of Sabbath. Let my gratitude be loudest when I am doing the least, for it is in resting that I most remember who my source is. I offer thanks for spiritual inheritance, for the anointings I walk in that I did not earn, for prayers prayed by others that paved the way, for mantles passed through generations that now rest on my shoulders. May I honor those who came before me by stewarding this season well, by multiplying grace, by increasing compassion, by walking in truth with boldness and humility. I praise you for the grace to begin again, for mercies new not just each morning but every moment I admit my need, for the restart you offer without shame. Gratitude has removed the fear of failure and replaced it with faith in renewal. I now know that falling is not the end but the beginning of another revelation of grace. May I rise as often as needed, always with thanksgiving on my lips. Lord, thank you for being constant in your kindness, for never withholding yourself from me, for being the same in the valley as you are on the mountaintop, for remaining when others walked away, for listening when I stopped speaking, for seeking me when I withdrew. You are faithful, not because I deserve it, but because it is who you are. My gratitude has become my sanctuary, and in it I find you again and again. I will live this day not in reaction but in response, not in panic but in peace, not in fear but in fullness, because my heart remembers and my soul agrees. Gratitude is still my superpower, and I am living blessed every day. In the powerful and peace-filled name of Jesus, I declare it is so. Amen.